Good evening, everyone. This is Rahul Reddy. I am a mentor with Career Launcher at Bangalore. I have with me Priyaranjan. He's our student of Career Launcher at our Maleshwaram Center and CLAT 24. He's a topper. He has achieved an All India rank of 31 and a Karnataka state rank of 2. So, welcome to the show in that sense.
Thank you, sir.
First, how did you feel in the time between the exam and the results?
So between the time and the exam and result, it was one where I felt like I have done what I could. Now what I can do at most is now just rest. So most of the time that week went on taking some rest and at the same time panicking as to how much when will the results come out, and the whole answer key scenario that happened with so many changes really
Yes.
added too much to the panic. So but then I was able to get a hold of my self control, and when Sunday the results came, I was more delighted than ever with the
Right.
way I did.
It must have taken some time to sink in that not just NLS but also a very high rank.
Yes.
So this year, of course, the paper being of 120 questions, that was first change. Then the very easy English paper and the GK paper, which again was odd kind of a GK paper, all added to the confusion. And given the paper was easy, nobody knew what score would be perfectly enough. So even we were very afraid to commit a number and say this much should be enough, because we didn't want to make that wrong commitment. But thankfully, it all worked out. Right. Then let's go back to the beginning. What school did you study in, and when did you get this idea of I want to take up law? How long did this decision? Just run us through the decision.
So right now I'm studying in Clarence High School. The decision, I think it was back in ninth grade when at the time I had to decide what I wanted to do with regards to like the future as such. So at that time I used to go for many like Model United Nation conferences. So
Right.
those conferences, like whenever, maybe let's say if I go for some committee or such, the amount of knowledge that I learn, whether it be on that particular topic or maybe even some new laws or such, it actually sparked an interest in me, saying like maybe I can take law as a future. And after 10th standard, once my boards came out, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do law as my future career path, and that's when I started. I think in month of July, such I enrolled in Career Launcher, like 2 years back. So from there it started on, and it's safe to say it's a good journey. So
So, your parents, are they lawyers or any other lawyers in the family?
no, sir, I don't think so. Maybe a far distant relative might be a lawyer, but not sure.
Nothing close in that sense. So, how did
And
your parents first react when you said you wanted to be a lawyer? They're supportive. They said, "Yeah, let's go for it."
yeah, so they were supportive because my sister was a CA, sir, and she embarked on her own, and in the first attempt, it says she cleared the exam. So
Wow,
they were happy with that. So they were like, even you can also do it, so you can go for it. So I was
that
happy with
also that is
all the
again
support they gave.
that is another very tough exam to clear on the
Yes.
first attempt. That's wonderful. Good. And stream wise, what have you selected in 11th and 12th?
So I selected the commerce stream.
Okay. Any particular thoughts as to commerce and law?
So the thing was, when I chose upon law, so I thought maybe the best option to go was corporate law.
Mhm.
And because I chose thought of doing corporate law, I thought maybe taking commerce at 11th, 12th itself might provide me maybe some advantage or such while
Right.
doing my future. So that's when I started with commerce, and it was fair to say it's actually a really good course compared to your science and humanities.
Right. That's okay. I think you will be studying at NLS with commerce grads, humanities
Yes.
grads, and science grads. So in that sense, it'll be a pretty diverse batch. Uh, but I think the good thing, what we are trying to do with some of these videos is also to encourage students to think about their careers and take their own decisions. So whether you selected commerce or science or humanities is not the issue. It is what was your thinking behind it. So that more students say that, look, I need to take a considered decisions, looking at what my goals are, how I try out various things, look at what my interests are, my abilities, and then take a call. So now let's run through the journey from the time you started with.
Like all the processes and such. So they played a huge hand with like they're making sure how to like go through the admission process, and now they're kind of like helping me with the registration process for the admission. So they're really supportive and great to have them.
Pooja is one of the most senior members of Karnataka Bangalore. She actually, her seniority is far more than mine. And there are a lot of times that I look at her when I have a doubt on, processes and technicalities and so on. That's good. And then a word on the mentors, those who work with you in terms of the classes, the doubt clearing, and the yeah, all other mentorship sessions.
So when it comes to classes, sir, I really like most of the legal classes because Animesh sir used to come, make us not only just do maybe some worksheet or such, but he made sure that we are up to date with our current affairs. And he used to give us additional info as to maybe this particular case study you can use when you're relating to this particular concept or such. So Animesh sir like helped us in understanding the core essence of legal understanding, and in recent times even Shava sir also helped us with logical reasoning and all other, making sure that we get the correct decision, but also we figure out why we chose the correct answer as well as why we rejected the wrong answer. In that way, we get an understanding as to our thinking capabilities and all, and our reasoning skills. So, Anvisha and
Absolutely.
Sebastian played a huge role. And of course, from Quant, actually, Pranish sir helped us understanding how to like solve the sum at the same time. He gave us his own way of method of how to solve it in a faster way and such. So, I feel grateful that I was able to taught under their teachings. I was able to learn something.
And this particular CLAT paper, especially the logical section, this idea of how to eliminate the wrong answers would have been helpful. This was a
Yes,
fairly
yes,
tricky logic paper this time.
yes,
It's not easy to pick the right answer, but yes, if you can eliminate, at least you get a much higher chance of getting it correct.
yes. So it helped in the process of like choosing the right answer and eliminating the other options. So
Right. Now, when it comes to strategy, which is which section to attempt first and how to manage the time, so what was your planning, and did that plan also evolve over the mocks, or was it right from the day one you had the same plan of how to approach the client?
so back when the paper was 150 questions, at that time I used the different strategy of finishing off English and and logical in the first as much
Hmm.
as I can in the first hour, and then maybe for the so in that way I just follow the normal pattern once the 120, and overall I analyze myself as to how much time I spent and if I need to, where I can allot additional time, if suppose if I do have. So that way I was able to come up with a strategy like maybe if I spend, let's say English, maybe 30 to 35 minutes,
Hmm.
then I can easily rush through current affairs in maximum 10 minutes. And in legal take at least 35 to 40 minutes, and like that I timed myself to make sure that even though whatever time I'm giving myself, I wanted to achieve the maximum accuracy I can with those particular sections. So in that way it kind of helped me with the paper as well on the day of the exam.
So on the day of the exam, I'm sure you would have started and then saw that English with only four passages and also pretty easy.
Yes, sir.
So
When
did
I
you?
saw the English paper, it was I was like, oh wow. I was genuinely shocked with the English section, but then I found it really easy at that time. So I was
So
able
did
to
you?
brush through it around like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So
Very
in
good.
that way, I was able to get more time for legal and logical. So I was happy with that.
In fact,
And
that is
such.
exactly the point I wanted to bring out, that adaptability. That you normally said you take 30 odd minutes for English, but on this day, when you saw the paper was easy and one passage less, you speed it up. And that gave you the extra time to attempt the slightly lengthy legal, not difficult, but lengthy. And logic was very tricky. So that extra
Yes, sir.
time would have been useful there.
Yes, sir. It
And
was
you
really
also
useful.
you attempted most of the quant.
So I attempted under around 118 questions.
So
So
quant in 12,
happy with
all
my
12, all 12. In
yes,
math?
sir. Math I
Okay.
attempted also.
Oh, no. Okay. I think that's another point to make for those who are viewing. This is a commerce student who found the time and attempted all 12 of the maths questions, right? So I don't want, any student in the next year or the year after are coming back and saying, I'm a commerce student, I'm a humanities student, I can't do math. Here we have a living example of somebody who can do, all 12. And I'm sure that made a difference We are talking about an exam where half a mark can, change 60 ranks. So that exam, if you're weak in maths or don't practice math, I think that's the bigger worry. That would have been a big issue types now. That so yes, really glad that Pranesh was able to spend the time, and really glad you're actually taking those lessons. Good
Yes.
stuff. Right. So those changes in the paper, and okay, first of course they released the wrong paper, which was a shock. But anyway, put that aside. Those two withdrawn questions and one question that got changed. Did that affect you in that sense, in
So
terms of
to be
score?
honest, I didn't check which questions were withdrawn or such because at that time I just didn't want to like I wrote the exam. I know I did good. On the day of
Okay.
the result, I'll whatever result I get, I'll manage with it. So I didn't go to the provisional answer key or such. But then my
Absolutely.
friends told me like there's been changes in the questions.
So you only directly looked at the final answer key.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Because it's difficult to resist the temptation once a provisional answer key comes and going and checking, and yeah, that part is there. Good stuff. So, uh, any particular plans uh, in terms of what is it you want to do or learn in law, or will take it as it comes?
I think more of a take it as it comes approach because maybe after NLSA you maybe go for masters or and then
Right.
work upon my way like that. So one is whatever life throws at me, I just want to take it and influence.
Okay, that's great. Okay, next, the mocks itself. I think mocks obviously plays a very important role in your prep. So, how did you use the mocks, and what were the learnings from the mocks, and so on and so forth?
The approach to mocks was kind of simple. So my first ever mock I wrote, I just wanted to see personally if within that certain amount of time, I wanted to see how many questions I can attempt and at the same time how accurate it was. So that early point, I just wrote that mock paper, and when I came back and I got an 82, I was like, okay, now I have to figure out where I can strengthen. So at that time, my quant was my highest. So I got, I think in that mock, I think I got full on full that, not sure. But then I worked upon my way slowly, improving other sections as well. So what my approach was simple. Maybe that particular section which you were weak in, maybe in the next mock that it comes, maybe give attention to that particular section. For example, I gave a huge lot of emphasis on logical at the beginning time. So when I gave that amount of time for logical, I was able to see my marks improving at the same time from
Hmm.
maybe like a single digit to a double digit. So like that, I worked on it slowly and slowly. In the end, when I knew for a fact that I can get to good accuracy in all these sections, the main aim was balancing it because when I was writing my marks, I could see like a balance going somewhere. Maybe if I get legal a really good mark, I get less in logical. Or if I get good in logical, I get less in legal. So my aim at that time, at the end, was making a balance, trying to get the same region of marks as per all the marks. So in that way, I tried many things, and some of it worked, some of it didn't. But then it's all about taking that approach and figuring out whether it's the right one or the wrong one. So.
Brilliant.
uh,
So, just to kind of state it for everyone who's watching, you would have probably given almost all the marks,
yes, so
uh,
more or less.
more or less all the marks, and almost all of them offline.
Yes, sir. All of them are offline except for the second mock, which was online mock for all.
That's okay. But I think that's another point, because the fact that people take mocks offline makes a big difference. While it's the same paper that you can take online, it is highly recommended that you take it offline, because the final exam is offline. And it helps in terms of the way you take the exam, and the transferring of questions to the OMR, and so on and so forth. Yes.
So, and plus, one more thing advantage about offline mock is that compared to online mocks, you're sitting in your houses, you might have a peaceful environment, and because of that, you're able to maybe get more accuracy as such. But whereas when you're sitting in that room, everyone is under that pressure as to how they'll do. So that you need to get that feeling of that pressure maybe to understand, okay, if I attend in an offline session, if I getting this much, and in online I'm getting this much. So I need to work upon ways in which I can control that pressure within me or in my surrounding as much as I can to make sure that my paper goes smoothly. So that's I think one advantage of going through the offline mocks rather than doing online.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that we tried this year, which I think is a good lesson, is that at least some mocks we wanted to bring students of all the centers together
Yes, sir.
into one location, whether it's Malleshwaram or Indranagar or Jayanagar or Kormangla, bring them to one center. And that creates, like, 300, 350 students at one shot. It gives you almost I mean, we try to simulate how a actual CLAT center would look like. Uh, and obviously, some more areas to work on. Maybe we'll do a few more of those next year. But
Yes, sir.
that was the idea, to try and give the same atmosphere that you would
It was
get in.
really helpful, sir. Like maybe in the first two we did the all India mocks, it was really like too stressful for most of us. But then on the day of the exam, since we practiced in that simulation, we kind of had an understanding, and more, I think most of us actually were able to like calm ourselves down on the day of the exam and able to do the test peacefully. So I think doing more of those simulations might help us in
It would help us.
controlling the environment.
Another thing that a lot of people probably are not aware or don't underestimate the importance is the peer group, which is the people that you study with, right? So one of the things our toppers have regularly told us is that, the people whom I study with are very important component of my success. So did you have a group that you studied with, or kept
Yes,
conversing, discussing?
we
Okay.
had a group, so like only three of us. We had a group where we not only just discussed about like GK covering these topics, but also whatever mocks we did. So we analyzed it together. So, for example, maybe if I got a question right or the other person got a question wrong, we figure out as to why he chose the other option and why I chose the right option, and in that way we are improving ourselves to make sure that we don't make the same mistake again and again. So having a study group or a peer group actually helps in like figuring out not only just completing your GK wise revision, because each person gives a unique perspective on certain topics, so
Mhm.
it gives an advantage. And when you finish your mock exams and you come for a group call to discuss it widens your understanding as to why you could have chosen this answer if you're new this particular line or such. So it actually helps a lot finding the right person to do.
Yeah, that I think is important. We need to have a group who are as, they may have skills in different areas, but they should be as motivated as you are.
Yes,
If all three, four of you are very serious and motivated, and geared towards helping each other, makes a big difference in that sense.
yes,
Good. So I think that's broadly what I had planned as far as this interaction is concerned. I really want to offer my congratulations once again to
thank you,
you
sir.
and to your family, because I always feel the success kind of belongs to the family. And uh, Hopefully, there's going to be a large contingent of people from Career Launcher who will go with you to Endless UI. Every year, we've been sending a pretty good chunk, and this time it might be a little bigger than the past years. Some of them from Maleshwaram, some of them